Hello, George Tolman here, and I welcome you to part 2 of our Pyramid Model and School-Wide Positive Behavior Supports Tidbit series. In this video, Ginny and I continue our conversation from part 1 and discuss the importance of developmentally appropriate practices, the imperative need for strong family-school connections, and our recommendations to help educators, families, and others meet the behavioral needs of our children. Here is part 2. Enjoy. My next question I would have for you is talking about, let's go with acknowledgement systems. What does that look like?
So I think this is an area where we do look a little bit different. And the reason that we look different is because of developmentally appropriate practices. So in early childhood and overall, we know that best practice is using that 4-to-1 ratio, sometimes 5-to-1 ratio of positives to, and some would say negatives, some would say directives, but really driving home that positive language. In preschool, we give specific, positive, descriptive praise throughout the day in every setting. We can't wait until the end of the week or even a few days to reward kids for behaviors that were done throughout the week. So, for example, a sticker chart for that might be used in elementary for throughout the week, where a child would get a sticker for following the directions on this day, and then the next day he might get another sticker for something, and then at the end of 10 stickers he gets to choose from the prize jar or something that's motivating for that student. We can't wait that long because our kids really connect with the here and now and don't do as well when they have to delay that positive reinforcement. They need that positive reinforcement immediately. So if our kids do something great on Monday and are reinforced on Thursday for that great thing, that kid probably doesn't even remember what he or she did, and definitely doesn't remember why he or she, or doesn't know why he or she is getting reinforced. What you pay attention to is what you promote. And to be developmentally appropriate, we have to reinforce our young learners very quickly. So George, what does that look like in PBIS?
Looks very similar in the sense of we always recommend a positive to correction ratio where the positives outweigh the corrections. And we do so intentionally because we know that the students today is particular internalize things a little more than maybe generations past. And so when you say one negative thing, usually it takes about at least 4 to maybe even 7 positives before that negative is seen in its proper light, depending on the situation. So our general teaching, I should say, is that we're looking for a 4-to-1 ratio between positive and correction. So similar to what you said, Ginny, in PBIS, whether it be in kindergarten, first grade, all the way up into the senior year of high school, we are looking for proactive response to behaviors you want to see. And then the idea being is that we want the reinforcement to be instantaneous, especially if you're trying to help a student understand and practice better behavior. But then as the student has shown the behavior, so let's say just being kind as an example, let's say that after a while, the kid is regularly showing kindness and those actions. We don't need to reinforce that all the time. The behavior has been learned and mastered. And so we can slowly scaffold off of that reinforcement because the kid doesn't need that kind of strict reinforcement schedule. So what you said, Jenny, the difference is just in the fact of being as developmentally appropriateness. The similarity, at least what I've heard here, is that we are still aiming for teachers and staff to reinforce the behaviors they want to see, do it often, do it meaningfully, and then also do it in ways that makes it understandable for the student. So in early childhood, we'll use those visuals, use the stickers, what have you. As we get older in the school year, we may not use all those stickers and other things, but we will still use those internalizing factors that really do motivate good behavior. So coming to the end of our time here, Ginny, got a couple more things here. What does family engagement look like for early childhood?
Well, George, in Pyramid Model, we really prioritize family engagement. Families are key partners, and our teachers are regularly communicating bidirectionally with families. And they often have access to families on a daily basis. We even encourage families to use some of the same pyramid practices that we use at schools to be used in the homes, which just increases that consistency. We encourage parents, invite them to be a part of leadership teams, and we just really emphasize the importance of keeping those families involved with what's happening at school. How does it look at PBIS?
It's the same mentality, trying to get to those families, letting them be appreciated as partners in their child's education, and being a support to them as appropriate from the school setting. And the nice thing about PBIS in this sense, Jenny, that you are also mentioning here with early childhood, is that it is respectful to the culture in which your building is at. And when I say culture, think about wherever you're at in town, or think about the student body and how it's made up. We want to be respectful and mindful of all the different people that make up our building. And because of that, with the family engagement, we have to be culturally sensitive. We have to understand the elements as to what makes people want to engage in education, and then meet them where they're at. And so not only from the communication that goes home annually, semester, maybe even monthly regarding PBIS, but also just being able to support the parents and hear their input as valued members of our school community. And that will look different in elementary compared than secondary, because we have different cultures, we have different things that we're thinking about. But nonetheless, that family engagement component is very big, very important. And without it, I would argue, PBIS cannot sustain itself to the maximum potential that it's able, because the family school partnership is a major contributor to the success of the PBIS framework. Same thing with early childhood as well, especially with pyramid. So with those similarities, Jenny, and obviously we haven't covered the full gauntlet. We could go on for hours, right, and that's not what the purpose of this tidbit is for. What are some things that you would like to recommend to others as either action items that they could take away from here, questions that staff members could ask, or just any other things you'd like for us for the listening audience to know regarding how to see this connection between pyramid and PBIS from the early childhood lens, and what kind of supports are out there for them?
All right. Well, thank you for having me here today, George. To wrap up, I really want to encourage people to realize that when we're talking about differences between PBIS and pyramid model, what we're talking about is developmentally appropriate practices. And with that, there really aren't a lot of differences between the two systems aside from that. I think with both of these frameworks, consistency is the key. I think it's important for these frameworks to be done with fidelity, and with that fidelity will come sustainability. As far as resources go, I would really encourage any of our viewers to access the NCPMI website, which is the National Center for Pyramid Model Innovations. And I would also encourage them to access the Nebraska NeMTSS website. And if you go on that website, you will find Pyramid Model. And there are also a lot of resources, including contact information on how you can learn more about Pyramid Model. And George, I'm sure you want to add something about PBIS.
Yeah, I'll just add this little piece. If you're in a situation where you're an elementary principal and you have both a pre-K element and obviously your kindergarten, a kindergarten classroom, you're trying to figure out what does that relationship between early childhood and PBIS looks like. Take some time to go through this tidbit and think through some of the things that were said. Ginny is available for you. I'm available for you. Our Nebraska NeMTSS site which is where it's the huge collaboration of multiple stakeholders to try to see this thing as one big system and how to support kids under one roof. We'll be adding more behavior related stuff on there. And we really want you to reach out if you have questions about the connectivity, because these are not silos, folks. And Jeannie and I can attest to the fact that once we see this as a partnered relationship, there's a lot of power behind how we can help those very young students, those students that are 3, 4, 5, et cetera, and then bringing them into the K-12 setting and preparing them for future success. And we know that not only does the research support it, but from practical experience, we know that early learning is very, very important. And using pyramid within that PBIS framework and then having the collaborative structure within your building is going to get you far. And we're more than happy to help you on the journey. On behalf of Ginny and I, we thank you for listening to this presentation. We'll have the contact information now on the screen for you to reach out to us if needed. But thank you for listening and have a great day. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to this 10-minute tidbit series on the pyramid model and school-wide positive behavior supports. We hope that this series has been beneficial for your learning and will spark conversations to help bridge the connections between the two in our schools. Both Ginny and I am here to support you on this journey and ask that you reach out as needed should you have questions or comments. Again, thank you for listening, and thank you for your dedication and commitment to the education of our Nebraska children.